Okay, Nigeria. Beautiful country, amazing people, incredible culture, but let's talk about something that's been absolutely bonkers. For over a decade now, Nigeria has been hit by one wave of chaos after another. They've got Boko Haram showing up in the Northeast in 2009, killing tens of thousands, displacing millions, terrorizing schools, churches, villages, and just as people try to breathe, enter the Fulani herdsmen, or in government speak, armed groups, and then they get the very official term, unknown gunmen. Because apparently labeling people properly is too much work. And kidnappings? Oh, they're on a whole other level. In late 2025, over 300 students and teachers were kidnapped from a school in Niger State alone. 300. And what do some of the influential voices have to say about this? Well, hold on, I'll get to that. Let's start with Sheikh Gumi. Yes, the cleric who seems to make headlines more than a weather forecast. In 2025, he came out and said that these armed groups wreaking havoc in Kwara, Zamfara, Benue, and other states aren't criminals. No, they're actually fighting an ethnic war. Wait, let's pause here. So these guys, shooting people, burning villages, kidnapping school children, it's all part of an ethnic misunderstanding? Really? Imagine telling your parents, oops, I accidentally destroyed your house. It's an ethnic war. That's basically what this sounds like. And he didn't stop there. Gumi went further and said these militants don't really kill many people, and when they do, it's mostly by accident. Accidental, like, oops, wrong village. Meanwhile, in Plateau State, Christmas 2023, hundreds were massacred in one night. And in Benue, dozens more. But sure, accidental. Makes total sense. And here's the kicker. Some officials kept trying to say, oh, these aren't Nigerians, they're foreign mercenaries. Enter Senator Shehu Sani, who in 2025 bluntly said, no, they're Nigerians born and bred in the North, speaking Fulfulde and Hausa. So yes, they're Nigerian, armed, and according to some folks, not really criminals, just ethnic warriors. Incredible. But wait, it gets better. In November 2025, Gumi openly admitted that he personally visits armed group hideouts with police and government officials. Yes, he brings the police to meet the people who are actively kidnapping and shooting civilians, supposedly to understand their grievances, and even educate and rehabilitate them. Imagine that. They don't arrest someone holding a gun to innocent people. No, they take the police along to chat about cattle and school enrollment. He literally said if you leave 10 men with cattle for a year without education, they'll come back mooing like cows. Mooing like cows. I can't even. Meanwhile, in November 2025, President Bola Tinubu declared a nationwide security emergency and announced the recruitment of 20,000 new police officers. Sure, Nigeria needs more law enforcement, but the problem isn't that they don't have people. The problem is structure, strategy, and coordination. And yet they're told, hire more police and hope for the best. Governors are saying they know where the bandits are, but they can't act because Abuja controls the forces. So yes, they have more officers, but no real way to direct them. Brilliant. And looping back to Gumi, in the same year, he warned that using force will only make things worse. Airstrikes, raids, military action, apparently all dirty and counterproductive. Negotiation and dialogue, he says, are the only paths forward. Okay. But when these people are shooting, burning, gurning, and kidnapping hundreds of innocent people, talking it out feels, let's be honest, wildly optimistic. Like telling someone whose house is on fire, maybe just ask the flames nicely to cool off. And here's a thought outsiders haven't heard anyone say. I don't know if people realize it, but some of these guys, some of these attackers, they're not really killing because there's a war. They're killing because, well, almost for the thrill, for the power, for reasons that defy logic. And the shocking part, other nations would shut people like this down immediately. Here, they keep running around. Honestly, Nigeria might have one of the largest concentrations of people like this on the planet. And the official response is, basically, let's talk to them nicely. So let's recap what's happening here. A cleric says these armed men aren't criminals. Police are literally visiting bandit hideouts. They're recruiting tens of thousands more officers without structural changes, and the government is told not to use force because it might make things worse. Meanwhile, villagers are being massacred, students kidnapped, and communities destroyed. And they're supposed to just watch and discuss ethnic wars and grievances while the bodies pile up. Let's talk about these so-called unknown gunmen. Yes, that's the official term. Unknown gunmen. It's like calling a wildfire some heat thing. People are being killed, kidnapped, and terrorized, but they just shrug and say, unknown gunmen did it. And here's the kicker. These same unknown gunmen are often the same people that communities later identify. Fulani herdsmen, former bandits, armed militias. But officially, unknown. Why? Because acknowledging who's doing it might have political consequences or ethnic sensitivities. So instead of saying, hey, these are criminals, it's safer to pretend nobody knows who's doing it. Makes sense, right? Totally logical. Now, here's a part that really makes you scratch your head. Some of these armed groups have been rehabilitated and integrated into official security forces. Yes, you heard that. Former kidnappers, armed raiders, even bandits with long histories of violence, sometimes they are recruited into the police or local vigilante groups after rehabilitation programs. And predictably, problems arise. Members of the army and police complain that some of these recruits never really left their old groups. They bring inside knowledge of security operations, contacts in the communities, and divided loyalties. It's like hiring a fox to guard the henhouse and then acting surprised when the chickens disappear. It's like giving the Joker a job in the Gotham Police Department and telling the citizens he'll reform eventually. Trust us. Let's also not forget the economic angle, because this isn't just violence for violence's sake. Armed groups terrorize farms, destroy crops, and block trade routes. This creates food insecurity, drives up prices, and leaves ordinary people in northern and central Nigeria struggling to survive. Yet the narrative often remains, it's ethnic misunderstanding, don't use force. You really can't make this stuff up. And on the ground, the people living through this, they see the chaos, the kidnappings, the killings, the unknown gunmen euphemisms, and the rehabilitated bandits in uniforms. And they shake their heads wondering how it got this far. Meanwhile, the world watches in bewilderment. Nigeria, a country with incredible potential, has somehow normalized the absurd. So at this point, you're left with a surreal reality. People killing for reasons that sometimes don't even make sense, official policies that make things worse or laughably impractical, and a national conversation that often skirts the hard truths. And honestly, if other countries handled this like they do, the headlines would read, "State fails to stop serial attacks," and swift action would follow. Here, they debate, negotiate, and sometimes they just bring them tea. Nigeria's insecurity crisis is tragic. It's shocking. It's absurd. And the statements, the policies, and the responses from influential voices, sometimes you can't tell if you should laugh, cry, or scream into a pillow. But here's the takeaway. The crisis is real. The stakes are real, and the absurdity of some responses, that's something the world has to keep talking about, because ignoring it doesn't make it disappear.
US President Donald Trump is threatening to send military forces into Nigeria unless the government stops what he called the killings of Christians by terrorists. Trump posted the message on Truth Social, saying the USA will immediately stop all aid and assistance to Nigeria and may very well go into that now disgraced country, guns blazing, to completely wipe out the Islamic terrorists, he says, who are committing these horrible atrocities. Trump says he's instructed the Department of War to prepare for possible action and says if we attack, it will be fast, vicious, and sweet.